I got more comments. I don't know why, but I like making these videos. Let's read them. Just curious, why exactly do you expend so much of your time and energy in attempting to debunk a god, in particular the Christian god? Well, for one, I like making these videos. That's as good of a reason as any. But the belief in a Christian God has played a large role in my life for a long time. So understanding why that wasn't a rational belief was pretty important. And I also believe that anybody who is doubting religion has the right to have both sides of the story. And also, of course, the AdSense revenue is pretty sweet. Are the people that you depose in your videos doing you some kind of harm, or are they harming others with their beliefs? Well, yeah, kinda. While them believing things themselves isn't inherently harmful, it is harmful when they push their beliefs onto other people. It's harmful when they miseducate the young and naive. It's harmful when they take advantage of the emotionally weak to indoctrinate them into their own religion. And it's harmful when they try to influence politics based on a Bronze Age book. Are they in some way keeping you from living your life as you see fit? Well, for the most part, no. But they are kind of making it difficult for people to be accepting of, well, non-Christians, especially atheists, like me. But just because the people that I criticize don't affect me personally, does not mean that I'm not allowed to criticize them. It seems readily apparent to me that the ideas that they propose are simply wrong, and I have a desire to explain why. If they are not hurting you or anyone else, why do you care what they believe? Well, for one thing, they are kind of hurting other people by trying to put pseudoscience in science education. They are harming other people by putting fear, sexism, homophobia, shame, and repression into the minds of the young and naive. They are harming other people by putting an ethereal dictator in the politics. See, I don't necessarily care about the exact beliefs that they themselves hold, but I do care about the effects that they have on other people. But I mean, if it turns out that a large portion of public opinion is simply wrong, wouldn't it be good if they understood that? Wouldn't it be right to tell them? If you don't believe in God, then you probably don't believe in Satan either. Why don't you put as much effort into debunking Satan? Well, for one thing, there aren't many people trying to prove the existence of Satan, especially not in comparisons to the people trying to prove the existence of God. Because most of what I do is taking arguments for something and then criticizing those arguments. I haven't heard a lot of arguments about Satan, but as far as I'm concerned, an argument against the existence of God is also an argument against the existence of Satan. Even if you don't believe that there is such a being, the folks who are actually running things in this world do believe in Satan. I'm going to need a citation on that. Actually, it seems to me that a large part of world leaders are Christian. The fact that governments don't act exactly the way you want them doesn't mean that they are satanic. They worship him and do many horrible things to their fellow humans in his name. I seriously doubt that this is a significant amount of people. The majority of Satanists don't actually believe in God or Satan. It's usually an atheistic religion. Do you think that yours and others' belief in their God is going to affect their belief and actions? Well, I sincerely doubt that a significant amount of people actually believe in Satan and worship Satan. I believe that the belief and worship of the Abrahamic God is far more popular and far more influential everywhere. But if a Satanist makes a semi-decent video trying to prove the existence of Satan, then maybe I might cover that video too. I don't know. Instead of wasting your time in fighting against those who wish you no harm, how about using some of your time and energy in fighting against those who do harm you and others all over the world? Think about it. Well, I've thought about it, and I think that you're afraid of something that isn't actually a problem at all. I mean, seriously, how are Satanists hurting me? Weather? That's not like whether or not weather. That's like, is it raining today weather? But whatever. Whether you believe in gods or not, most people in this world do. Even without a god or devil, there are still only two sides to choose from, good and bad. How do you measure who's good and who's bad? Who are you against? I measure who is bad by who is more harmful to other beings than is necessary and is against the will of the victim. And I measure people who are good as people who benefit other beings as much as they reasonably can. But I really don't make this dichotomy of this person's a good person and this person's a bad person. I just see people as ordinary people. Another one from the same guy. Why do you discriminate? Shouldn't you be an equal opportunity God-hater / disbeliever? Not believing in God is not the same thing as hating God. I don't hate God per se, but I certainly don't believe in him. But you're right, I equally disbelieve all gods, I guess. I understand that you are an ex-Christian and may be most familiar with the Judeo-Christian God. Okay, you kind of just answered your own question. But unless you are considering the merits of other gods you want to adopt, why don't you debunk, make fun of, and call other God believers stupid? I don't recall calling Christians stupid, and I don't recall making fun of them necessarily. I talk about the Judeo-Christian God because that's the God that I'm most familiar with. And that's the God that's most relevant not only to me, but to the country that I live in. And there's also more Christian propaganda for me to talk about than there is of any religion. But given the fact that I mostly criticize one religion, it does not logically follow that I have to be a member of another religion. And the fact that I don't believe in a God does not mean that I have to talk about all gods. For a nice change of pace, but still in your area of expertise, you could give the god of Luciferians, it's Luciferians, that's one word, and Satanists a good debunking. I don't know about you, but I don't see any videos of Satanists trying to prove that Satan exists. But I see a lot of Christians trying to prove that God exists. Do you honestly think that more people are converting to Satanism than there are to Christianity? What actual indication do you have that Satanism is actually affecting anything? Because I guess I'm not seeing what you're seeing. Did you know that they pray and have their own Bible too? Well, this kind of shows that you don't really know what you're talking about. If you're talking about the Satanic Bible, then that is from the Church of Satan, or Levian Satanism, which is an atheistic branch of Satanism. They don't believe in God or the devil, nor do they pray to anyone. And sure, they have rituals and ceremonies and stuff, but that, as well as pretty much anything that they do, is pretty much just for the purpose of intimidation or validating the fears that Christians already had before they even existed. And one of the major ideas of that branch of Satanism is that you don't harm any being that hasn't harmed you first, which is relatively peaceful. What about Buddhists, Hindus, Krishnas, shamanists, they're called shamans, and the ever more popular Muslims? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by Krishnas, but when I looked it up, it seems to me like it's just a form of Hinduism. I'm not going to make a video about Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, or religion similar to that. For one, because there's hardly any material out there that's trying to prove that that religion is the true religion. But I also believe that those religions are worthwhile, because while I don't believe in the supernatural basis for them, they actually teach tolerance and nonviolence, sentiments that I can agree with. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a Hindu, then you're only benefiting the world. But I actually do want to make more videos on Islam. But again, there's the issue that there's not as much material on Islam as there is in Christianity. And a bigger problem with that is that the majority of the arguments that Muslims use to try to prove that their God exists are the same as the arguments that Christians use. The only difference is that when they try to prove their particular religion, they tend to go to the advanced science in the Quran, which I already made a video about. But I have been wanting to make a video on Surat education for some time, but in all honesty, it's really hard to piece together their arguments. Or is it only one God of creation that you choose to disbelieve? I don't believe in any particular God, but that doesn't mean that I have to absolutely criticize all of them in order to talk about just one opinion. I think you're the one who is being intellectually dishonest because you have yet to show that you have thought this thing all the way through to the final conclusion. What does that even mean? The only rational conclusion that I can make on the subject is that there almost certainly is no God. That's because there's absolutely no evidence and no indication that there is a God. What more thinking do I have to do to appease you? I see that you only have 3 choices in order to show your intellectual integrity. Well, I'm glad that you, random 50-year-old commenter on the internet, are an expert in philosophy. Maybe I'll hire you as my philosophical advisor. And he does say that he's 50 years old. I'm not just making that up to be mean. But here are my options. 1. You could deny any and all gods and give equal airtime to debunking them all. The second half of that does not logically follow from the first half. Yes, I deny all gods, depending on your definition of deny. But that doesn't mean that I have to talk about every single one of them in order to be even allowed to talk about one of them. I can criticize one bad idea and still disagree with other bad ideas. I mean, you talked about how influential Satanists were, which is completely unfounded, by the way, but you didn't say anything about Scientologists, so I think you're being intellectually dishonest because you chose to single out one religion that you thought was influential. 2, you could say that they are all valid and quit debunking any of them. I really don't get where this is coming from. Maybe it's from the idea that I'm only criticizing one religion, therefore I must agree with every single other religion that I don't talk about. So I have to accept Christianity too, because I accept all of those. That's the most sense I can make of this. I don't know. But there's also number 3. You could pick one and put it into practice and leave the others alone. Alright, well, I have picked one religion, and I have put it into practice in the past. And I came to the conclusion that I am at now today. I was heavily fundamentalist Christian for quite a few years. And now I'm an atheist. Does that fit your qualification? But honestly, this whole thing doesn't make sense. It seems to me like you're saying, why are you picking on my religion? You're not picking on his religion. On a personal note, and it's only my opinion, but think you are way too young to be so narrow-minded and hateful towards any group of people. I never said that I hated Christians. Never did I express hatred towards them. Frustration, maybe, but that doesn't mean I hate them. And why do you think that I'm narrow-minded just because I typically talk about one idea? That doesn't mean that I'm narrow-minded. That just means that there's one topic that I usually talk about and that I know more about than other topics. In fact, my open-mindedness is what led me to become an atheist, because I followed the evidence where it led, and it didn't lead to the religion that I believed in. So instead of irrationally holding to my beliefs no matter what, I changed my beliefs because I recognized that maybe I was wrong. But the fact that I don't know and talk about everything about every religion doesn't mean that I'm narrow-minded. I don't know you. I can only surmise that you had a horrible childhood that you have associated with Christianity. Well, you surmised wrong. Admittedly, I didn't have a great childhood, maybe not even a good one. But that wasn't because of Christianity, and I never associated it with Christianity. In fact, Christianity made me feel better about things. As is the case with many Christians, Christianity acted as a coping mechanism for me. But that doesn't change the fact that I didn't have any good reason to believe what I believed in. I'm 50 years old, and I have never before come across someone as young as you with your attitude without there being a cause. Then maybe I'm the first. Whoa, that's my Twitter handle. Crazy. But it's incredibly presumptuous of you to say that there absolutely are no people who disagree with you for good reason. And we have another one from the same guy, but this one's a little different. He kind of backtracks a little bit. For context, this is from my last video. And in that video, I showed a lot of comments from angry Christians on a video that gave explanations for biblical miracles. If all your examples are of an accurate cross-section and not the result of just picking the most stupid examples, then I can certainly understand why you dish on them so badly. Well, here's the thing, I didn't pick comments to accurately show the demographics of who was watching this video. I chose the comments that I felt I had a response to. Now granted, there were many rational people, and a lot of them even brought up some points that I brought up. But at least half of the comments were exactly like the comments that I showed. We all have freedom to choose. You have chosen your belief. Well, it's disbelief, and You don't necessarily choose what you believe. There's reasons you believe it. I don't actively decide to believe in leprechauns if I want to. I can't rationally convince myself of that. I have no right to judge or condemn you, and I'm not going to try to convert you. But you sure can tell me the kind of videos that I have to make, for some reason, I guess. I may disagree with you and debate you on some points, but you are nearly grown and can make up your own mind. So it seems to me like he's taking back what he said earlier about me being too young, and I can respect that. In fact, what he's saying here is very respectable. He's saying that there are genuine reasons why people believe the things that they do or don't believe the things that they don't. And I think that's something that both sides of any argument should understand. Just do me one favor if you will, please. Remember that there are a very few of us who are almost nothing like the ones in your videos. And I understand this very well. I don't think that a Christian is stupid just because he's Christian. I understand that there are Christians who are actually decently rational people. Sadly, those aren't the ones with the loudest mouths.